Hello everyone, Readers is back with another How to Play. Today we're looking at how to play this game called Nyet, which is by iello. And it's a trick-taking game that came out several years ago and by Stefan Dora. And bid one, nice UV ink on the box, which, by the way, looks like this. Opens up, has magnets on the side, and has this cool Russian bear on there. Now, I am not in any way throwing my support behind Russia for anything they're doing. Absolutely dislike everything they're doing. But yeah, this came out in, does it say when? 2015, I think. Yeah, so several years ago now. It is out of print, so it's harder to find. I managed to find this on probably the Geek market on Board Game Geek, but you might also find it on eBay. Keep in mind, however, it will be pricey. Now, interestingly enough, you also get these little postcards that come with it, because why not? And you get the game rules, and you get what you see here. You get cards. Each player is going to get a card. It's actually double-sided. One side is your image. The other side is a one-way picture. Each player is going to get one. This is 2 to 5 players, is what it is. And there's the 5th one. And you also get this ×2 card, which is used if you're playing with 3 or 5 players for, for scoring purposes, which we'll get into. The cards, I'll show you. And by the way, there's going to be a slightly different setup depending on how many players are in the game. That being that, and everyone's going to choose a character card. You're also going to get these tokens that have the character that you're using on them. So each player is going to get some. I'm just going to randomly hand them out and not worry too much about characters. There's also a couple of extra ones that don't have any characters on them. And that is because if there's a character that's not being used, for instance, in this case, we're not using the screen guy, you're going to cover him up. So that he will never be the first player. Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to select the rules for each round on this board. Now, if you're only playing 3 players, you'll cover up another player, whoever's not in the game. And same with if it's 2 players. I believe you can play 2 players. Is that what I saw? Yeah, 2 to 5 players. As far as cards are concerned, you will be, with 4 players, you're going to use all 60 cards. 3 players are going to remove all 11s, 12s, and 13s, leaving 48 cards. And 2 players, you're using all the cards, as are you for 5 players. So you're only going to remove some cards if you're playing 3 players. Now you get cards numbered 1 through 13. The 11, 12, and 13 have artwork on them, like court cards in a regular deck of cards. The suits are the blue flags, the yellow sickles, green hammers, and red stars. And there's 1 of each number. However, there is multiple 1s in each suit. For instance, so we got 1, 2, I believe there's 3 or 4 1s in each suit, in each color. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, it's 3 1s in each suit, as you can see. And the reason for that is because the 1s are kind of special, because the 1s can be super trumps, can be the super trumps in this game. I'll explain that in a bit. Now, this is a trick-taking game. We'll put this back here, in which everyone's going to get a hand of cards, going to be dealt out evenly amongst players. I'll just quickly do that. And one person, the dealer, is going to start off. It's a trick-taking game. I'll explain that in a bit, right now, actually. And so, you know, let's say I start and I lead with yellow. Everyone else will have to follow suit if they can. If they can't, in this case he can. If they can't, then they can play whatever the trump suit is, or they can play a super trump, or they can play any other card. I should mention that in this game, we're going to be playing partnerships. I know what you're saying. Wait a minute. You said you can play with 3 or 5 players. How does partnership work? That is what this is for. I'll explain that in a bit. But in this case, me and this guy are going to be partners. And then these 2 guys are going to be partners. So you might want to try to not trump your partner's card. Since I played a 13, he's not going to try and beat that for no real purpose. And this guy's, you know, going to play whatever. So, you know, it's trick taking. Everyone plays a card. Whoever plays the highest card of the suit led wins the trick. So I would win the trick. If somebody played a trump, whatever that is, then they would win the trick, or whoever played the highest trump. And the super trump would beat anything else. Now, how are we going to figure out the trumps and whatnot? Well, what happens is whoever is the start player, and you know, I'll just hand these back, I guess. Whoever is the start player, or whoever is the dealer, I should say, is going to look at their hand and they're going to say, you know what, I don't have a lot of green cards, so maybe he doesn't want green to be the trump, so he's going to put a chip there. And everyone else is going to go around the table. Maybe this guy doesn't want to discard 2 cards. This guy says he doesn't want this guy to be the start player. This guy doesn't want the green ones to be super trumps. Then I come and say that, and then this guy does this, and oops. You always put them face down to, I guess, not, you know, prevent people from knowing who played what. And you're going to be doing these and going around the table until everyone has covered up something on the board. We'll just randomly do this. And yeah, so if we had to set up like this, the bear, that's my partner, would be the start player, the first player. Nobody is going to discard anything because we got the Nyet. I'll explain all that in a minute. The sickle, the yellow sickle, is going to be a trump. We'll say that the red one is going to be a super trump. And each trick is going to be worth 3 points. So then you're going to go around and do the trick-taking phase, trick-taking part. And that is that. Now, if at any point in time, let's say I play this red one for some reason. And this guy plays this. My partner plays this. And this guy plays this. If at any point in time you win a trick, this guy wins this trick, that has a 1 in it. Now in this case it's the super trump, so this is, let's just say the green is a super trump. And if at any point in time, if somebody wins a trick and it has a 1 in it, that's not a trump, they would get to score this as an extra trick. It is bonus points, basically. So you want to be careful about, it's considered loot. All 1 value cards can become loot won by the opposing teams when a player wins a trick that contains a 1 value card played by an opponent. And it becomes loot, and it's placed at the side of the trick pile face up. And you could possibly win 3 in 1 round if there's 5 players. And this guy would win this, so you put this here, you put the trick here, you put this 1 here. And this 1 basically counts as an extra trick for the end of the game. Extra points. So you're going to want to be careful when playing a 1 to make sure that your opponent is not going to win the trick. Unless it's a super trump, then you win the trick. In that case, you know, I could explore that. Let's just say that, you know, played a blue 13, this guy played a green 1, which is a super trump. Even though he he would only be able to play this if he doesn't have any blue cards. And this guy just plays this one. This way, he's not giving bonus points to his opponent. So this guy, he played the super trump, so he's going to win the trick. So it's always going to be highest card of the suit leg. Whatever is trump, in this case yellow is trump, or whatever is the super trump. So you go around the table doing the tricks like that, and at the end you're going to score points, see who's won the most tricks. And this is how many rounds you're going to play. For 2 or 4 players, you play 8 rounds. 3 players, you play 9, and 5 players, you play 10 rounds. And again, for this, the top section here in this board is first player. And you're going to put chips and cover up who you don't want to be the first player. Maybe you don't want to be the first player to cover yourself up. You're always going to cover up any player who's not in the game automatically, because they can never be the first player if they're not in the game, that character. In this row, it's discarding. You can discard 1 card this round, and so what would happen is after everyone has dealt the cards and you've gone through all this, everyone's going to discard a card, and it's out of the game. And this one, it would be discarding 2. This one would be discarding 1 card, but you cannot discard any ones. This case, there's no discard. Instead, you're going to pass a card to the left, and everyone's going to do that. And this one is Nyet, which means there's no discard, no passing. Trumps, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to put chips on whatever you don't want to be the trump, and at the end, there's going to be 1 trump. Super trump, again, same thing. You could either have any of these be super trump or no super trump. And then points. Each trick can be valued 1 point, 2 point, 3, 4, or even -2. And you're going to write this down on paper. You know, this guy has, let's say, 3 tricks at 2 points. That's 6 points, for instance. And then you go through and do another round. And you do the 8 rounds, and whoever has the most points, whichever team has the most points at the end of the game, wins. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, you're going to cover up everything on the board until there's only 1 first player, 1 discard, or no discards really, 1 trump, 1 super trump option, and 1 points option. And some, people are going to have some of these left over at the end, especially if you're playing with 5 players or 3 players or whatever, even 4 players. Now, these cards don't serve any purpose, just to identify who you are, so people know who you are on the board. And as that, now the cards are nice quality. This is smooth, thinnest plastic, or thinnest. But they're a nice kind of a tarot size card, and that is that. Now, I'll explain what happens if you're doing, let's say, 5 players. We'll throw this 5th player on here. If you're doing 5 players, and you're going to do all of that again, I'll just put those there. And everyone's going to get cards dealt out evenly, of course. And you're going to have 5 hands, just like so. Something like that. And you're going to do everything the same. You're going to figure out what the scoring is going to be, who's going to be the start player, what discards you're going to have, what the trump is going to be, super trump, and points. And you're going to do everything the same. But there is one difference for 3 or 5 players. What's going to happen is, when you're doing 3 players, let's say we end up with something like this. Let's say that the fox, that's me, is the first player. I now get to choose, do I want to play with 2 other players in a 3-on-2 scenario, or do I want to just team up with Mr. Bear over there and play against these other 3 players? If I decide to do, you know, me and the bear versus the other 3 players, I get this card. If I decide, you know, let's make it me, the tiger, and the bear versus the 2 birds, they get the card. And this card basically doubles your score at the end of the round for how many tricks you won. So if I win 4 tricks and I got this card, that's going to double it to 8 points, or whatever it is. Let's say it's 1 point each, that's going to be 4 points, so I get 8 points. That is used to even things out, because obviously I wouldn't have a 3rd player on my team, so I'd have less chances of winning tricks. They would probably win more tricks, so this kind of evens it out. That's how this card works. It's ×2, it doubles your points if you're doing 5 players or 3 players and you're playing either 2 on 3 or 2 on 1, or whatever the case might be. So that is Nyet, and I say to Nyet, I say Nyes. That's N-Y-E-S, yes, Nyes. I say it's a good game, I like it, nice artwork, well done. Absolutely think this needs to be brought back, and now that there's a lot of trick-taking games going on, that would be the time to bring it back, and it would not be surprised if it does happen eventually. That is that. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I think I've covered everything. I mean, it's basically a trick-taking game. Highest card, the suit lead wins. Highest trump wins if that's played, or the super trump will win if that's played. And after every round, you're going to remove all those tokens, and you're going to go through that whole phase again after everyone's been redealt cards. And yeah, you're going to keep playing however many rounds it specifies for that player count. So that is that. That's Nyet. I like it. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. We'll see you next time. More. Thanks for watching.